and welcome fellow subscribers and other racing fans. Hello again to the last part, to the neither pro nor con part and the conclusion of my iRacing versus Project Cars comparison. So let's start with the collisions. To be very honest, they are bad. They are bad in both sims. In pCars you have the problems of cars sticking together, understeering out of the corners at the same time. While doing so, also collisions with walls and other things sometimes seem like ping pong or billiard kind of collisions, where absolutely no energy is absorbed and you're just flying around or other stuff. Also, due to netcode, sometimes cars are a little bit choppy on the road, so you can get hit although you shouldn't be. And in iRacing you have some energy absorbing during crashes. Crashes seem softer and a little bit more realistic. However, if there is a bigger crash, cars are also flying around very unrealistically. So after all, in both sims, if cars are losing connection to the track, physics are not realistic. Then maybe a more positive thing. The general driving physics are about the same. I can't say cars are behaving that much different. Maybe iRacing is a little bit more understeering from the general behavior. You have to fight understeering a little bit more than oversteering. And in Project Cars the rear is a little bit more loose on most GT cars, for example. It's hard to say which one of the both sims get it more correct or more realistic. For example, in iRacing the initial steering response is very quick. The cars are very quick on the initial steering, which seems a little bit unrealistic considering real world drivers say the cars are a bit lazy on the turn in from time to time. So maybe Project Cars gets it more right at this point. However, in Project Cars you can abuse the tire a little bit more. You can load it basically with everything you get, steering and braking, everything at the same time. Tires do not care too much, although they are getting hot. In iRacing that's not possible too much, because if you're loading the tire too much with braking and steering inputs at the same time, you most probably get understeering and you're not fast at all. You have to drive slower to be faster in iRacing. In Project Cars I can't say it's the same, but can't say which one is more correct, as I said. It's just two different approaches, and both approaches have their pros and cons. Same applies to force feedback. Project Cars force feedback, in my opinion, more detailed. It tells more about the car behavior. However, it also tends to clip at important situations. That means there is too much information and the wheels, the hardware, cannot really transfer it to your hands. So it might be a bit too much. iRacing, less FFB information, but the information you get is much clearer. Is it better? Is it worse? Can't say. Both things, advantages and disadvantages again. Now, as I already said in the previous video, the graphics, they are worse in iRacing, definitely. However, I don't really care too much if everything's working and everything's very fluently. However, both sims, on my system at least, have their problems. In Project Cars I do get my 80 frames per second, which is really steady if I drive with lowest graphics settings, which by the way definitely look better than the highest on iRacing. However, during rain races and the night where it gets really CPU heavy, I do have some rubber banding issues from time to time in Project Cars. And in iRacing I do get micro stuttering at some points and some tracks, which is also disturbing, but it doesn't happen very often as well. So in both sims, some problems with older hardware. My most hardware components are 2 years old now. However, I don't really care too much, to be honest, so, well, both not on the best side, I would say. Sound is okay. iRacing better with the sound of other cars around you. You can hear better where other cars are, and also the sound feedback from the tires is better the information is better to be able to understand what the tire is doing, although maybe not realistic, because you won't hear too much tire squealing in GT cars in real life. I think Project Cars does it better with the mixing of the different sound sources, but also there are problems. The volume of the sound is sometimes way off, I think, and the cars do not sound very nice, as they also do not sound very nice in iRacing. I can't say I like the sound too much in any of the two sims. There are better sims out there. Topic modding. iRacing not moddable, although you can have custom liveries, of course. Project Cars also should not be moddable, but right now there is some unpacker stuff out there which enables people to mod the game, and that might lead to problems, so I think both games are not doing too well in this regard. Both games are great sims which, all things considered, provide a huge amount of fun and quite a variety of all aspects of motorsport racing. iRacing is doing much better with the online multiplayer part, but Project Cars does much better with the variety, not only of cars and tracks, but also on weather and day conditions. It is also much more cost efficient. You get much more with less money, but you will never see a 24-hour race in Project Cars. That's just not possible. The multiplayer is just not stable enough. There are too many bugs. iRacing is a seasoned sim. It is 8 years old and therefore double the age of Project Cars, so they had much more time to improve their stability, of course. And you can feel that. The motorsports ecosystem of iRacing provides you with kind of a second life in motorsports, but the ability of Project Cars to just get into a game and have fun with friends, and that's basically for free in comparison to iRacing. You can't underestimate that. So what should be your weapon of choice? Like everything in life, the answer is it depends. If we keep the weapon analogy, iRacing is like a machete. It is old, it is reliable, it does its job, and simply said, it's just working. Project Cars, however, is a Swiss Army knife. There are so many possibilities. You can do everything. The options are huge. From a Megane road car to a Formula 1 like race car, you have everything. You have all conditions. You have so many cars and tracks. As a whole, it might not do each job perfectly. However, it has tools for so many things to do, which are all by their own nice, that you have to say it's a really nice thing to have. Maybe not the perfect thing for online multiplayer racing, but there is something for everyone in it, and it pleases your eye. iRacing feels like a workplace. Sure, you are happy if you finished well in a race, but more or less you go into the race with a work attitude. You wanna go there, you wanna be fast, you wanna do everything you can do, but there might not be as much fun involved. So to come back to my initial statement, I don't want to bash any of the two sims. I just wanted to present you the pros and cons of both, and my conclusion definitely is that if you are into sim racing, both of those sims should have their places in your heart. They are both doing a great job for the sim racing community. There is no point to say one is better or the other. They are both great and they are both usable. Neither of the two is perfect, but both fulfill a purpose. Okay, what is left to say? I guess thank you very much for listening to me just talking about two sims that are currently in my life as a hobby. And I hope I made a fair comparison. I think I managed to do that. And thank you very much for taking the time to listen what I had to say. And hopefully see or hear you in the next video. Bye bye.